For the past few weeks I've been away on holiday in Turkey, so I'm sorry for the lack of replies to comments and the like, but I do hope you've enjoyed the last 10 videos which went up in my absence. Before I went to Turkey, I looked up the use of radio, and being a foundation licence holder, amateur radio was off the cards, but I did consider PMR 446 or CB for some monitoring and playing around while I was over there. Andy Kirby was there at the same time, who's a really good friend of mine and has done a video on our antics which I'll link below. We'd planned to do some radio experimentation, but plenty of websites and forums online said that radio was a bit of a no-go, so we left it. Anyway, during my holiday, as I do anywhere I am, I decided to check out the various radio systems and sites at play around the town of Marmaris in southeast Turkey and thought I'd share my findings with you. Radio is used in abundance there, naturally, and like any other place, there's numerous systems at work, and in hindsight I probably wouldn't have run into any issues by using radio, but that's by the by. So the first thing I noticed as I walked out of the hotel on the first day was this chap, obviously an amateur radio operator, but I couldn't find out specifically who. There are numerous operators in Marmaris and the surrounding areas, but the identity of this guy will have to remain a mystery for now. On the roof is what appears to be some sort of HF loop, a Yagi and a discone. There's also this vertical which appears to be for CB. This property a few blocks down has what looks like a Diamond X50 on the roof. It could be for 2 meters and 70 centimeters, but could also be for commercial use, as there was 2 taxicabs parked on the driveway. Now this is where things get interesting. Marmaris is swamped with taxi operators, cabs are in abundance and you really don't have to look far to get one. I took quite a lot of taxis around the town over my time there and didn't see a single one using conventional two-way radio. Nowadays they pretty much all use POC or PTT over cellular. There's a lot that use Zello on their smartphones, but most use dedicated handsets using POC software packages. I tried to piece this together without much luck, and it was only by chance when I got a taxi ride from a driver who spoke decent English that I figured things out. They basically use Enrico and TYT POC handsets with their own software for communicating around the town, and this driver very kindly gave me a demo.
Sadece bir İngiliz merak etti. Telsiz denemeyi de ondan yaptım. Thank you very much.
So what did you say to him?
I say just a test and
Yeah. He boasted that his handset could reach the other side of Turkey, and we had a bit of a chat about the device before I left. While we're on the subject of POC and cellular, there's not a lot in the way of cell towers around the town. There's a few rooftop sites on hotels and apartment blocks, but there's not a whole lot of visible mobile phone architecture. I came to the conclusion that these short microwave towers that I was seeing dotted around Marmaris handled this type of service along with a small hilltop site at the rear centre of the town. Before we get to police and government things, let's take a look at the main transmitter site that covers Marmaris. I wanted to actually visit it to get a closer look, but access is quite restricted despite its proximity to the town. Marmaris transmitter site is home to a lot of radio towers which cover everything from cellular, emergency service and government communications and marine to FM broadcast radio. TV, however, seems to be mostly satellite. Virtually everything is catered for from here as the surrounding area is extremely mountainous. If you look closely, you can see the top of what is known as Marmaris Radar, a station that is largely demolished but with a new complex to the south. Again, this isn't really accessible and there's nothing online about it. Marmaris transmitter station has a sister site which covers the neighbouring towns of Ishmael and Turunç, and it sits higher than Marmaris on the top of a mountain peak with equally restricted access but offers similar radio services and systems. So let's look at law enforcement and government. It's never a good idea to film the police or their property in foreign countries, so I got a couple of shots of the main police station in Marmaris. There are others, but they only support small antenna systems which weren't easy to film without attracting unwanted attention. The main police station boasts an array of antennas, and each police car has an antenna on it too. From what I could tell, they use DMR, but a lot of European countries also use Tetra. I'm assuming their DMR system has AES encryption and 256-digit dynamic encryption keys, which means nobody can listen. The Forestry Administration has a premises next to another police station in Marmaris which also sported some antennas and microwave dishes, which is quite relevant given the amount of fires the area gets in the summer. The guys from Mugla Metropolitan Municipality, basically the council, use these Icon radios, which I couldn't tell if they were DMR or analog, and these private security officers also had some sort of radios as well. Marine is naturally used massively here due to Marmaris being a harbour town with a large marina. Various companies use marine radio infrastructure, and of course every boat, including the ones I went on, had their own radios, and there's no shortage of radar either. I saw a few light beacons to mark rocky peninsulas and shallow water, and these also had antennas on them, presumably for receiving commands over radio in the form of data. In the old town behind the marina was this old and damaged aerial on a derelict property, probably a relic from days gone by, and I did wonder who set up this belonged to on a car. In the old town is one of the biggest users of radio in Marmaris and indeed the country, the mosques. Call to prayer is sent out over loudspeaker and is repeated 5 times a day to signal that it's time to pray. Those who can't get to the mosque for whatever reason can monitor on a radio from home as the service is transmitted out over the air. Most mosques that I saw had an aerial on the minaret to enable these transmissions to go out. In hindsight, it probably would have been okay to use CB or PMR over in Turkey, but it's never usually worth running the risk given the stories from nearby countries in recent years involving people using amateur radio. Of course, if you are operating radio in a strange place or indeed at home, you do run the risk of running into a right weirdo. And of course, there's always that danger in real life of running into freaks like this.